do you feel that? Did you think it was a sloppy practice, especially the way it ended with the clock management?
Yeah, I thought that part of it was sloppy, but I also think it's a learning process, and that's what we're trying to do, trying to get everybody better, trying to be a smart football team, and we're going to be a smart football team if we want to get to where we're going.
Freddie, how do you feel about your kicking game right now?
They need to keep competing. That's all I have to say about it right now. They just need to keep competing and forget about today and move on to the next day. I'd like for them to move on from kick to kick, but let's start with a day-to-day thing right now.
When you talk about being a smart football team, we see Baker out there correcting mistakes, correcting other people's mistakes, like what happened today with Rashard and Greedy. And how great is that for you to have a really smart quarterback that's out there doing that?
Well, definitely. I mean, that's where it all starts and stops right there. But, as a team, collectively, offense, defense, special teams, everything, I mean, there's games won and lost because of one play, one decision. It usually falls on the coach on what decision, but after that ball snapped, we need to play smart. We need to know what to do and what situation is occurring in front of us and react accordingly. And, this game's about the players, and the coaches aren't out there. The coaches can't walk them through it every time that happens during a game. So we want to develop and keep creating an environment so we can learn from these things so we can be a smarter football team.
Looks like Dontrell Hilliard's taking advantage of Duke and the other backs being out. Is that the case? Do you see that?
Well, Dontrell is going to continue to work. I've been pleased with Dontrell, but he's not a finished product. He needs to keep working and see what we've got at the end of all this.
Freddie, Derek Willis has got a lot of work with the Horns. What have you seen from him? What does he bring?
Well, again, Derek brings good size, good speed. We're looking for, Derek to be a little more consistent, and that's what everybody's striving to do. And again, just move on to the next day, move on to tomorrow, and, be better tomorrow than he was today. And I don't need him to be a lot better. I just need him to be a little bit better. And then if you stack days that you're a little bit better, then at the end of all this, see where you're at.
When he went through that injury last year and didn't play the last half of the season, what did you kind of see with him dealing with that and how he kind of went through that whole process?
Well, I think he was good in the rehab, his treatment and all that kind of stuff. But he was really starting to get a grasp of things and how to play the game. And sometimes people like Derek don't look so good in shorts. All right, that's the reason why you play the game in pads. He's a bigger type guy, and he can use his size a little better when we get in pads. And I think he's demonstrating that a little bit. But again, he's nowhere close to what we need.
We're about a week.
We need to keep going and getting better.
Sorry, Freddie.
No,
We're about a week into camp now. Are there areas you can point to with Baker and say you see improvement from where he ended last year?
Yeah, I think his understanding of protections is better. Of course, we're doing some of the things that we talked about doing. So, of course, he's studied that throughout the course of the summer and things like that. So just continuing to give him different looks and things like that and create an environment where it's reactionary and not planned. But it's a learning process for him too. It's continuing putting the quarterback in a situation to decipher what the situation is and then react accordingly. That's how you play the position in this league, because you don't know what they're going to do. You may be planning on one thing, but they may do something totally different. You have to be able to react. It can't be a wasted play.
I know he was a number one pick, but can expectations be too high for a guy that's only going into year two?
Yeah, I don't know who's putting those. I don't know. Tell me his expectations on himself, because that's the only ones we care about. I don't care about, and I'm pretty sure he don't care about what other people say.
After Treader got his ankle rolled on, it would have been a good reason not to continue practice. But
Yeah.
he finished. So what does that say about him, and did you like that?
Well, I wouldn't expect anything other than him finish. I don't know where that expectation level came from that he needed to set out just because he got a little hurt ankle. But, JC demonstrated last year that he can play hurt, all right? And we have to understand as a group, collectively, offense, defense, special teams, the difference between being hurt and being injured, all right? I've always heard that my whole life. And you know what? We're a weekend of camp. You're banged up. You know, you're coming off an off day, but we just went through 5 days in a row, 3 days in pads. I don't expect anybody to feel good. And I promise you they're not going to feel good at the end of this training camp. So I need to see somebody build and bringing through and being the best that they can be, even though they may be a little nicked up. And JC, I knew JC would do it. He did it all last year. So it was good to see, because people tend to follow. You know, they see somebody do that and people tend to follow. So we need guys like that.
I'm just saying, doing it during the course of the season is one thing. Doing it on the 6th day of training camp,
Yeah.
it's not wired any other way.
Yeah, I hope not. I don't want people wired any other way. And I want to see what we're going to get in the season. I want to see on the field. I mean, we ain't done anything. What season? Last year when we were 7-8-1? Hell, that ain't, what is that? That's like barely just enough to talk about it for the next year. That's what that is.
What do you need to see from Antonio Callaway for him to kind of get to the level that you want him to be at? What are some of the things he needs to do for you?
You know, he needs to keep getting better. You know, he needs to keep deciphering the coverages and his reads accordingly. And he needs to be consistent catching the ball and running routes. And he'll get to where he's wanting to go.
Are you kind of making him earn his way back up the depth chart a little? Because sometimes we see, even when Odell's out or Jarvis is out, he's still not with the first team.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody understands who our starting receivers are, okay? But everybody else is competing, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I mean, I don't know. We have not got one depth chart in our room anywhere. So I don't care who's in there. I just want them competing. I don't care if you have 3 wide receivers Baker's never thrown to, or Jarvis and Odell and Higg and Callaway. I don't care. I just want to see what they can do. I want to see what the quarterback can do. I want to see what the line can do. I want everybody competing. I don't want them worried about a depth chart, because let me tell you something. They're not only competing against the guys on this field, they're competing against guys all around the league. So don't mistake that for our depth chart. We don't have a depth chart right now.
There was one period where the offense was on the field and it was the number 2 offensive line, and it looked like it was Stanton's turn, yet Gilbert went in. Any relevance to that at all?
Just we weren't going to run any threes, and I wanted to get the other guys some work. Just simply that.
Freddie, we saw you today, and we've seen this throughout camp where you do a little one-on-one coaching. Today it was with David. Could you just touch on the importance of maintaining some of that one-on-one coaching with your players, even though you are, the head coach?
Well, I think it's critical. Listen, to coach. I mean, everybody throughout the years will tell you, I'm not going to hold anything back. I think these guys are starting to realize that. The individual groups that I've coached in the past, the quarterbacks, the tight ends, in the 2 years I coached running backs, they know that. But if you coach them like that, you got to make sure that they know that you care about them, and David knows that. And it's not for show. It's just sometimes people need to feel loved. All right, so if I can show David something in a particular route, I used to coach tight ends for 8 years. John Lilly's doing a great job, but some of it is just what I envision. All right, and if I can give him a better understanding of what I'm envisioning, or I think that's advantageous to us.
How has Greedy Williams come along?
He's competing. He's coming along good. We're continuing to roll those guys and rotate them in, and we'll see who comes out at the end.
There was a
Go ahead. He's fired up about this one now. Go ahead.
there were 2 moments. One, he made a nice tackle on Chubb right off left tackle, and significant, I think, from my perspective, because he talked about, wanting to prove that he's a willing tackler after there were some knocks on him about that. And then there was another moment where I believe he didn't touchdown Higgins, and you reminded him it wasn't LSU.
Yeah.
What was your thought on both of those moments?
I thought one of them was good and one of them was bad. But,
Is that just the case with the rookie?
I mean, he's got to be. These guys have been playing football their whole life, and they've never had to touch somebody once he's on the ground. So it's just a learning process. That's just everybody's learning. There's a lot of learning going on right now, which should be, because we're doing a lot of teaching.
Did he know it and was just lazy about it, or did he not know he's got to do it?
I would hope that's not the reason. I don't think that would be the reason.
Were you encouraged with the tackle?
Oh, definitely. But me personally, I don't have a doubt that Greedy's going to tackle. Our corners have to tackle. You know, a lot of times people want to run on to corners in the run game, and I hope they do us because our corners are going to tackle.
Hey, Freddie, I think it was at the end of the 2-minute drill, and
Our corners are going to know how to tackle. Okay?
it looked like Baker got the snap off with like 1 second left. He wound up throwing to David down the middle. I think he was yelling tornado. Like, what are you looking for in that spot? Should he have thrown in the end zone? Is that a play where David's supposed to then pitch to somebody because it's the last play of the game? Or what are you looking for?
Well, we're trying to work a situation, and the ball got spotted in the wrong place. It should have ended up in the end zone with the throw. But yeah, we'll correct that situation and do it again. You know, that was not on those guys.
Okay.
You know, it was on our ball spotter, Corey.
Do you need any of those calves, guys?
Excuse me.
Need any of those calves?
You know what? I think they walked off before I got over there, but it was good having them out, and you know, we're Cleveland fans, so.
Is Larry okay? It looked like he wasn't taking a lot of team reps at the end. Hey, Joey?
You know, just more of it was preventive. You know, he started feeling a little something, and we just wanted to take care of it. But